How's it going, guys? Thomas Draven here, back again for another video, and in today's video I am backing up out of frame so I can show you all of this guitar. This is a Gear4Music Knoxville double neck 12 string / 6 string guitar, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at in today's video. So as you guys know, when it comes to my gear purchases, I like anything that is just super weird and kooky that will just sort of like inspire new playing and stuff that'll like give me something unique that just sort of flows out of my mind because it is just super different from anything else that I've ever owned. So I have a lot of 6-string multi-scale guitars, 7-string, I've had 8 strings, I've owned baritones, but I've never had a 12-string. And so I went to buy a 12-string, but then I saw that Gear4Music had this behemoth on their website, and I said to myself, well, since I want a 12-string, but I don't want to sacrifice the functionality of playing a 6-string, why not just get both? And that sounds like a really flawed reasoning for a lot of people because, well, it's 2 guitars mashed together. It's obviously going to be very uncomfortable to play at first. As much as it's going to be really weird to play for a while, I'm really committed and dedicated to learning how to play this instrument and figuring out how it is going to be most comfortable for me. So I am dedicated to learning how to play both necks in not necessarily tandem, but switching between the two for the sake of writing something really cool. So this guitar is a Gear4Music branded guitar. If you're not familiar with Gear4Music, they're very similar to Harley Benton with Thomann. So Gear4Music is an online sort of music retailer. They have all kinds of brands, anything from Fender, PRS, to the like Red Sub stuff is another one of their in-house brands with like the bass that I own. And I just sort of like was scrolling through there just to sort of see what kind of like inexpensive guitars they had, and they had a Strat style, a V style, and a Tele style double neck. And I love Teles, so I decided, well, why not finally get a nice Tele, but it's also a double neck. So we have a Paulina body, 2 maple necks, 2 sets of Tele style single coil pickups, 2 control plates, and 18 tuners. These are all unbranded, nameless tuners, and these frets, I assume, are just regular nickel and standard scale length, everything like that. And then we have an output jack all the way down there. So let's begin the actual review portion of this video. And there's definitely some goods, there's certainly some bads, and then a couple of actually kind of uglies, to be honest. So aesthetically, this is not the most beautiful guitar. I think that this would have really benefited from an opaque finish, just because I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 different pieces in this body. And you can see up here, this one is very distinctly a different color and a little discolored from the other pieces of the body. So I feel like this could have benefited from an opaque finish as opposed to a natural finish. And also on the back, we have a couple of spots where you have like knots in the wood that would have been easily covered by like a black finish or a sunburst finish or anything of that nature. Other than that, the finish is actually surprisingly clean. There are no dings, dents, nicks, anything like that, no tooling marks as far as I can tell. This thing actually looks pretty good. Actually, I totally missed that. I've never actually looked at the bottom of this guitar. You can see, I don't know if that'll pick up on camera, but right here there is a seam for an additional piece of the body. If you can see that sort of line right there. That is another piece of the body, and it's pretty obvious that they just sort of sandwiched on a little extra piece at the very end so they can get the full thickness of the body. That's kind of funny, but like the finish itself is actually very clean. There's no dust particles in the clear coat or anything like that. So at least that portion is nice. In terms of the tuners, they are exactly what you can expect from a guitar in this price point. This guitar literally costs like $250 plus, another $50 to ship it from the UK. They're unbranded, nameless tuners. They pretty much do their job and nothing more, nothing less. The tuning stability on this guitar is okay. I don't think they're worth replacing, but it's, you know, obviously not going to be up there with the tuning stability that you get from Hipshot or Godot or something branded like that. It's just okay. The nuts on this guitar, the 12-string nut is actually cut decently, but the 6-string nut is a little sloppy. I'll try and get some close-up shots of this guitar as I'm getting some B-roll footage, but like the low E slot is really messy, and the other slots are not particularly beautiful either. That's a bit of a bummer, but again, for the price point, it makes perfect sense. So am I really surprised? No. Am I really shocked? No. Am I really gonna take the time to swap it out if it's not a problem? No. Like, as long as there's not horrible pinging, ringing, or like really bad, tuning, I'm not gonna bother swapping it out, because if it's not a problem, then why bother fixing it? The neck and fretwork is actually really nice. On the 6-string neck, it's kind of not exactly even what you'd expect from a regular Fender. It's actually quite a bit beefier than what you'd expect. Like, I know most Fenders have like the modern C profile, and they're kind of thinned down a bit just so that like they have a more modern sort of profile. But this feels more like a vintage neck, to be honest. Like, it's a bit chunkier, especially sort of in this part of your hand where you really grip it. It's, you have a nice bit of heft there, and you have a lot of room and like a lot of stuff to grab onto for big bends and stuff like that. The 12-string neck is pretty similar. I know that the string spacing is a bit wider, I think, to compensate for having extra strings and still making it playable, but overall it's still like a sort of beefy, sort of vintage inspired kind of neck. It's not super thin like my other guitars, like the 10S, or anything like modern like that. It definitely has more of a vintage feel. The fretwork is actually surprisingly nice. I mean, when I got my Red Sub Coliseum bass, that huge 6-string bass, like almost immediately I had to take the strings off and give the frets a nice polish with some steel wool to make sure that nothing was like sort of rubbing up against it and making like really awful noise. With this guitar, it's really not even that bad. Like, there's no dead spots, there's no fret buzz, and the frets are actually polished to a nice sort of sheen. They're not like a mirror finish, they're not perfect, but for all intents and purposes, they are not bad, especially not for a guitar in this price point. Another thing is that there's actually a little knot in the maple up here at the 11th fret. I'll again try and get a close-up of that. At first I thought there was a dent in the fretboard when I pulled this guitar out of the package, but it is just sort of a little, I don't know, unique feature of the wood, I guess. I've never really seen a knot like that in plain maple, but I don't know, maybe it got a little bit of a bird's eye figuring for free or something like that. Moving on to the electronics, again, totally unbranded, super like cheap, like, the cheapest wholesale stuff you can get kind of electronics, just Tele style pickups. Nothing special about them at all, but it is worth talking about because the wiring scheme of this is a little kooky. So I'm gonna post a picture of the guitar as I saw it on the Gear4Music website and what I assumed I would be getting. And for anybody who has a keen eye, in those images there is a 3-way toggle selector switch that allows you to switch between the two necks. If you'll notice on mine, that switch is not present. So that was kind of a bummer when I pulled this guitar out of the package and I was like looking over it and I was like, oh, there's no 3-way, selector switch for the neck. And then figuring out the wiring scheme, I don't understand really what they were going for, and this is a super negative thing about this guitar. For whatever reason, we have these two control plates, but they are not independent control plates for each neck. They are both master controls, so that if you turn the volume down on the 12-string side, it kills all the signal on the 6-string side, and if you kill all of the volume on the 6-string side, it kills the 12-string neck as well. I don't know why that was their decision. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but it's the kind of thing where that was a selling point for this guitar, for me personally, where I wanted to be able to sort of switch between the two and not have, you know, horrible string ringing while I'm trying to switch necks because I didn't mute my strings properly. That's something to keep in mind when you're purchasing this, is that it doesn't exactly come in the form as advertised, and this is something that I'm going to be emailing Gear4Music about because that was a major selling point, and something that was super interesting for me was being able to switch between the two necks. But I put in an order with you know, Guitar Fetish, and I'm gonna be getting a 3-way toggle switch and some new pickups for this guitar, just so I can make it every part of what I really wanted it to be, and then we'll see if Gear4Music will be like, oh, so sorry about that, or, you know, whatever. Furthermore, the pickups on the 6-string side are fine. On the 12-string side, the neck pickup works great. For whatever reason, the bridge pickup is not at full power. I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but it's like kind of half the power of what it should be, and the middle position sounds also very weak. So rather than taking a look at the electronics that are in there already and trying to fumble around and troubleshoot like I normally would, I actually, again, ordered some wiring harnesses from Guitar Fetish, and I'm waiting on a 3-position toggle switch as well. So when all that comes in, I will be swapping out all of the electronics, and we will be doing another episode of Mod Project Guitars. So the electronics on this guitar have been, let's just say, kind of disappointing for the most part. I mean, I understand that they're supposed to be cheap, but even if they're cheap, I expect them to work as advertised and to have all of the components that were advertised. I mean, even in the description of the guitar itself on the website, it says, hey, you have a 3-position toggle switch to select the different necks. So that's super disappointing, and again, I'll be reaching out to the company to complain because that's just not right. Like, if you're gonna be selling a guitar, you want people to understand, oh yeah, you know, it either has this component that's it's pictured with and described with, or it doesn't. Furthermore, bridge hardware, fine. I mean, 12-string tele bridge is interesting. The setup was okay from the factory. It's not perfect, it's not great, it needs a bit of intonation adjustment on both necks, but I just haven't really taken the time to do that, and you know, that's not really anybody's fault. I don't really expect my guitars to come set up perfectly when I order them, so that's fine, not any huge concern there. And actually, I want to talk about the neck heel, because this is actually probably one of the big saving graces, is that rather than having that big chunky block at the bottom of your neck, they've rounded it off and contoured it, and rather than having a neck plate, they just have these 4 bolts holding each of the necks in place, which, it's funny that that was what got the most craftsmanship, and then kind of they skimped on the electronics and making sure that it was actually, you know, as advertised and all that. All right, so let me show you guys what this thing sounds like. I will try and demonstrate how the 12-string neck, the 12-string side bridge pickup isn't functioning as it should, and I will show you guys some tones from this instrument. How's it going, guys? Tom from the future here. No hat and no sweatshirt this time. This is a few days after I recorded the initial part of the review, and I wanted to go ahead and say that unfortunately, because of the way the guitar is working currently, I won't be putting an actual in-mix sound demo for this one, just for the sake of the fact that it needs some work, both with the intonation and the electronics, and so for me to try and put it in a mix and make it work and make it sound good just feels kind of like I'm, searching for something that isn't there. So what I'm gonna do is reach out to the guys at Gear4Music and see if they can accommodate me with all the stuff that's going on with this instrument and hopefully get this resolved. But if not, we're gonna mod the hell out of this guitar anyway. So I will see you guys for sure in a Mod Project Guitars video featuring the double neck telly, and hopefully when we do that, we can get it set up and actually working the way it's supposed to. And so hopefully I can get that going for you guys real soon. So I will see you guys in the next one. Unfortunate that we couldn't get this thing to sort of really sit in a mix well, especially with the stuff going on with the bridge pickup of the 12-string side. That's super annoying, and I have no idea what's going on. So for that reason, no mix sound demo here today, but if you can tell by the sound demo that I did give of just the strumming chords, there is this really significant output drop off, and I can even post a screenshot of the waveforms where in Reaper you can actually see where the pickup change occurs because the waveform actually just diminishes in size so significantly. So I will post a screenshot of that somehow. I'm not really sure how to do that, but I'll figure it out, and then I will post that probably right around here. But in any case, I will see you guys in the next one. So hopefully that next one will be a Mod Project guitar video, but we will just have to wait and see. So with that, have a wonderful day. Peace.